Welcome to It's a Crime. I'm Linda, and today we are going to be doing a deeper look into the hour in which Trezell and Jaqueline West stated that their kids, Orrin and Orson, went missing, and also when they made the call to the police. There is a discrepancy that I want to take a deeper look into, especially when they called the police, the timestamps on the neighbor's surveillance video, and also what Trezell states in his interview. Something is off, and now I have an even bigger question I'm asking. But before I get into it, if you'd like to be part of the It's a Crime community, please remember to click that subscribe button below, hit that notification bell to all so that you can be notified of my next upcoming videos, because there's going to be a lot of them. Please give this video a like and share this out where you can. Now, let's get into it. It's now been a month since Orrin and Orson were reported missing, and we've seen several interviews now with reporters talking to Chief John Walker from the Cal City Police Department. One of the questions that the journalist Bayan Wang keeps asking him is, what time did the call come in about the boys missing? And Chief Walker repeats in several interviews around 5:45 p.m. And in his latest interview, he stated it was 5:43 p.m., being more specific. But here's what's confusing. The chief is saying that 5:43 p.m. the call comes in and minutes later the police arrive. The neighbor has surveillance, which most of us have seen, that shows everything happening between 4:30 or just after 4 to 5 p.m. according to the timestamps. It shows Trezell in the backyard, and then at 4:30 p.m. there are the flashing lights in that backyard. 3 minutes later, Trezell climbs in the van, drives around for 6 minutes, and then hangs out in the front yard for 13 minutes. We see the police arrive on surveillance at 4:52 p.m. Now, it's possible that the neighbor's timestamp is incorrect and an hour behind. The chief says 5:43 p.m. the call came in, and minutes later the police arrive. And at 4:43 p.m. the surveillance shows Trezell outside, and minutes later the police arrive at 4:52. Only here's the big question and the issue that I have. If it's 5:43 p.m. that the call came in, and if the surveillance is 4:43 p.m. and supposed to be at 5:43 p.m., then what played out between 4:30 and 5? As Trezell said.
Missing, and at what time were they reported missing to the police?
It's about, I think it was about 4:30, going on 5. It was getting dark, like I said.
5-ish.
5-ish. That's about it. That's when everything played out.
And why does Trezell's statement line up with the time on surveillance? So now let's take a look at the surveillance. This is from AV Watchman's channel. In the surveillance, we can see Trezell go out in the backyard around the 4:12 timestamp. Trezell talked about it getting dark outside, which we do see that happening throughout the footage. It goes from light to dark by the time the cops arrive. When we look at the sunset times in California City, the sunset occurred at 4:44 p.m., and I do talk about that in my previous videos. I'm going to take a step further in this and show you 3 other points of reference. There is something called civil twilight. And civil twilight occurs when the sun is less than 6 degrees below the horizon. In the evening, it begins at sunset and ends when the sun reaches 6 degrees below the horizon. Civil twilight is the brightest form of twilight. There is enough natural sunlight during this period that artificial light may not be required to carry out outdoor activities. Only the brightest celestial objects can be observed by the naked eye during this time. Several countries use this definition of civil twilight to make laws related to aviation, hunting, and the usage of headlights and street lamps. So civil twilight on the chart for December 21st is at 5:12 p.m., so a half an hour after sunset. Next is something called nautical twilight. Nautical twilight occurs when the geometrical center of the sun is between 6 degrees and 12 degrees below the horizon. This twilight period is less bright than civil twilight, and artificial light is generally required for outdoor activities. Nautical twilight ends at 5:44 p.m. on the chart, 1 hour after sunset. Then there's astronomical twilight. And astronomical twilight occurs when the sun is between 12 degrees and 18 degrees below the horizon. In the evening, the sky becomes completely dark at the end of astronomical twilight. Any celestial bodies that can be viewed by the naked eye can be observed in the sky after the end of this phase. So astronomical twilight in this case is 6:15 p.m. and is completely dark. So technically, if the surveillance stamp was correct, we would see Trezell walking out at 4:12 p.m., which would be a half an hour before sunset, and at 4:33 p.m. when he got into his van, it still wouldn't be sunset yet for 11 more minutes. And by 4:52, when the cops arrived, it would be 12 minutes after sunset. So if we go back to the surveillance, we see at 4:12 p.m. when Trezell comes out, just how light it is. And here at 4:33 p.m. when he climbs into his van, it's fairly dark, and at 4:52 is where we see the cops arrive and it is dark. So if the surveillance camera was an hour off, then this should be 5:12 p.m. that he walked out, which is already past sunset and hits the civil twilight zone. And remember, this is the brightest form of twilight. It says there is enough natural sunlight during this period that artificial light may not be required to carry out outdoor activities. So let's go back to the chief for a second. He says that the call came in at 5:43 p.m. He also stated that Trezell said that they searched for 15 to 20 minutes before calling, which in a sense the timeline is correct. Just that he spent a whole 6 minutes looking for the children and 13 minutes of doing nothing standing in the backyard. So it does add up to 19 minutes, but not what you would expect or hope for, obviously. So let's rewind that at 5:43 when he made the phone call. 20 minutes before that is about 5:25 p.m. And that's it. So there still leaves from that 5 o'clock mark that Jaqueline says to 5:25 p.m., right? So perhaps they wanted to push the narrative of searching and searching. So from 5 to 5:25 is when they searched and searched for 25 minutes in the house and then went out searching outside. Side note, the actual time searching in the house is 2 minutes. Must have felt like a lifetime. But if they wanted to stretch that timeline out, then my question is, why would Jaqueline correct Trezell when he says between 4:30 and 5 is when everything played out, right? She says 5 o'clock.
Missing, and at what time were they reported missing to the police?
It's about, I believe, I think it was about 4:30, going on 5. It was getting dark, like I said.
5-ish.
5-ish. That's about it. That's when everything played out.
So at this point in time, I want to know what the video shows between 3:30 and 4:30 p.m., an hour before what we actually see on camera. And of course, I'd like to know 2 days before that, before and after the Wests drove to Bakersfield to Grandma's house. Now let's go back to the backyard where Trezell is shown on camera at 4:12 p.m. He's seen walking out and then he walks back and forth a really short distance from his yard to the other side of the gate. Now, even the neighbors stated he's not sure what he's doing. At times he was just standing there as well. But there is a bit of time where he is not shown on camera. My question is, where did he go? It's about a 2-minute time frame. That would be about 10 minutes before we see the lights flick on and off at the house several times. What we do know is that no kids walked out of that gate and no kids walked outside of that front yard. Where did the kids go and where did he go during those 2 minutes? And what are you lying about, Jaqueline and Trezell? What played out between 4:30 and 5 p.m.? If the timestamp is between 5:30 and 6 p.m. Let me know your thoughts below. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please like and please share. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.